Is now the time to buy gold? Well, that all depends on who you are. If you're one of the world's central banks, especially a central bank in the East like Russia or China, then yes, ever since 2008, every month has been the time to buy gold because they are getting prepared for what they know is inevitable. There's something coming, and now it's coming sooner rather than later because of the coronavirus. And so they've been getting prepared for the big change that they see in the world. For me, now is not the time to buy gold, it's the time to buy silver. And that is because of the gold-silver ratio. Silver it has never been this undervalued compared to gold in all of human history. And here we are at 110 for the exchange rate for the derivatives of gold and silver, the IOUs. But the gold-silver ratio is basically the exchange rate between them. It takes 110 ounces of silver today to equal the value of 1 ounce of gold. Typically, throughout the centuries, it was somewhere between 10 and 15 or 16, depending on where you were in the world and what period of time it was. It's only been out of whack for the past century and a half or so, and it's only touched 100 2 times before. It's the past couple of weeks, it's been over 100. It hit 124. That's never happened. But, like I said, this is the exchange rate of the IOUs for gold and silver. The spot price of gold and silver that's set on the exchanges is IOUs. And $16.50, $15, about the same as yesterday, not much change. But look down here. Hong Kong property prices fall up to 20% as jobless rates rise. Now, jobless rate rises. That is happening around the world. And so we're going to see, we're having this deflation, which we'll talk about in the chart of the day. On the radar, this is Kyle Bass, and he says the UN has become the world's worst joke. China's communist government tramples on the rights of their own citizens by the millions, and now they sit on the UNHC, he forgot a letter there, it's UNHRC panel. America should defund the UN. It's been neutered by China. And that is pretty much true. Positive step, U.S. senators call on the UN to remove China from the UN Human Rights panel. So it's the UN Human Rights Commission panel. The sheer ridiculousness of the situation plays against China's asymmetric warfare ambitions with global institutions. And it does seem that China has been able to buy their way in to a lot of organizations. To be elected to the Human Rights Panel shows that there is something corrupt in the UN. This is like bad news because, when despots gain power like this, people that suppress other people, seeing the world with this struggle becoming more free, less free, more free, less free, and to see this thing toward less freedom and more totalitarian governments is really a sad thing. Moving on to the chart of the day, and this is the deflationary chart that I talked about. This is the the equal weighted commodities index, and Jack, I can't remember his name. Just the facts. It's the facts, ma'am. Just the facts. Is a depression coming, or is the bottom already in play? And so, taking a look at this commodities index, the fluctuation in the price of commodities, it's very interesting to me. It's got a lot of information in it, but we've been in this downward channel since the commodities peaked in 2011. They've declined 50%. Now, that is deflationary, and during this time period, stocks went up, real estate went up, and bonds went up. But commodities went down. Healthcare went up. There's a lot of things that went up, so that's inflation. And this is deflation. In my book, I called this indeflation, that we would go into this weird indeflation period where certain things were going up while other things were going down. And that is exactly what's happening. And there was a financial crisis low that took place in 2008. that corresponds with the high back in late 1980 or early 81, it looks like. And basically, if the economy has hit bottom, commodities will rally off of this support zone, and they'll go back up and at least touch this, probably touch this upward boundary of this channel sometime or another. But if we're in deflation, if the commodities break this, if the world continues to deflate through the tough times ahead, the commodities will break the 40-year support and remain inside the 9-year falling channel. And so it would probably go down and then bounce up and then continue on its way down. And that's deflation. And I don't see indeflation. You've got inflation, stagflation. You've got disinflation, which is inflation, but the inflation each year is lower than the previous year. That's disinflation, and something that I dubbed indeflation. But what is very interesting is how much this mimics gold. When we were on the Bretton Woods system, which was the last vestiges of a gold standard, and even though it was sort of a baloney gold standard, it constrained the amount of, even though governments around the world were inflating their currency supplies, they were still constrained by gold. And August 15th of 1971, we went off of the Bretton Woods, and gold took off like a rocket. It peaked on the last day of 74, which would have been about here, pulled back to September of 76, somewhere in here, and then took off, and it peaked at 800, it was actually 873, not 850. It depends on which commodities exchange you look at and whether you're looking at intraday or the close. But it peaked in January of 1980, and it looks like commodities peaked very shortly thereafter. And then gold put in a double bottom in 1999 and 2001, and then put in a top in 2007 or early 2008, pulled back during the global financial crisis, put in another top in 2011, and then declined and has diverged from this. Gold is out of this channel, and the divergence is about to become huge. This will probably continue on its way down while gold and silver shoot for the moon. I want to welcome the 954 subscribers, and I want to announce some news. We're on Library, and Library, it's lbry.tv, and it's a video player that works off of blockchain technology. So it's a distributed ledger blockchain, and we're completely backed up on Library. So our videos, the hidden secrets of money and stuff, are safe there. And the folks at Library picked us for this week's video channel, and they said that information is power during the dark times ahead. And so I want to thank them. And we'll come back and revisit this later as I learn more about Library. If you subscribe and hit that notification bell, we'd appreciate it. Also, please share these on Facebook and Twitter and give it a thumbs up. It really helps. And we want to know what time is best for you for these updates. I mean, what's the most convenient time for you to come and watch them? Because if we can get a huge surge right at the beginning, that helps the YouTube algorithms, and we get recommended in the sidebar on related types of videos. It helps push this forward, helps spread the word, and more people can become informed. So please click that little icon up in the top corner there and take that survey and tell us when you want to see us release these videos. Behind the scenes, this was my birthday, I think in 2013 or 14. And this is the Cicada Club. It is this beautiful old Art Deco building in downtown Los Angeles. And Maxwell DeMille is the owner, and he likes 20s and early 30s jazz and has groups in there all the time recreating that period. And there's also a costume store like right next door, and people come dressed in period attire. And there's some phenomenal swing dancers there. You can see this vocalist dressed as a early 30s singer. And, I want to, instead of playing Where's Waldo, we're going to play Where's Michael, because I'm in this picture. And my table, I took several of the people from my company and a few of my friends. And so try and pick me out from this picture. And yesterday or the day before, I covered the Hollywood Bowl outing and Frank Sinatra's 100th birthday party. And one thing I forgot to mention was that the best vocalist there, and these were all professional vocalists, invited to come in and sing one tune and pay tribute to Sinatra. And most of it, they just did not get Sinatra whatsoever, the modern singers. Even the spectacular vocalist that had sung with the Count Basie Orchestra decades and decades ago, she didn't get the attitude. But there was one guy that just was phenomenal, and it was Seth MacFarlane, the originator of the Family Guy and American Dad. And he not only had a phenomenal voice, but he got Sinatra's soul. And I would go see him again in a heartbeat if he ever did a concert. Viewer feedback from yesterday's video. Hanson A says, "We are so far removed from Glass-Steagall, it's insane." Now, Glass-Steagall was an act passed in the 30s that separated the brokerage houses, the investment banks, from the commercial banks. They used to be mixed, and the investment banks, the brokerage houses, could gamble with depositors' money. And back then it was sort of money, currency, I should have said. And they separated them so that could never happen again, and banks would not go insolvent due to stock market crashes. Nobody could have imagined the Fed being the buyer of equities, but here we are. Social unrest is all but inevitable, and the masses will be fooled into blaming coronavirus and the idea of free markets. We never had a free market. Well, actually, we had a semi-free market before the Federal Reserve. We've had a manipulated market since the Federal Reserve. And, we talk about free market capitalism. It's become manipulated market cronyism. You have to have lobbyists in Washington if you really want to get ahead in business. And they're going to blame coronavirus and the idea of free markets for it, demanding the poison solution that the elites will propose. Thank you very much. The insider report that I did, there were some comments on it, and one person just wanted to thanks, just watched it, excellent information. And somebody else said, didn't receive your email, can you please post it here? Thanks. Now, this is information about what I do with my own investments, and it's something that we produce for our clients. And so it has to be somebody that has made purchases from goldsilver.com and reached a certain threshold. It's very expensive to do. I mean, I have spent millions of dollars producing Hidden Secrets of Money and all of these videos for years and years and years. And we have to have a competitive edge. And this is a ruthless, brutal business. I mean, you're lucky if you end up with 1% at the end of the year, 1% profit. Some years, it's a break-even year. It's a brutal business, and we have to have some way. I started this business to fund the education. I didn't want to be asking for donations and be a charity case. I wanted to do whatever I wanted, and I wanted to be able to spend a lot on this and make things like Hidden Secrets of Money, which are very expensive to produce. And to do that, I wanted to fund it by working, by offering a product that is and a service that is something that is of great benefit to people. If you want to get rich, you have to serve a lot of people. That's one of the things, is by creating something that people want and making it competitive so that you can get the greatest market share. This is a very, very difficult thing to do. So I wanted to do this on my own, and with my team we have. You don't do it on your own. You do it with a team. The quote of the day, but first, get my book. It's free. So the quote of the day is Milton Friedman: "Nothing is so permanent as a temporary government program." And this is so incredibly true. if you go back and listen to President Nixon announcing the end of the Bretton Woods system and taking the United States and thus the world off of the gold standard, he says, "Today I have temporarily suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold, except for," and he goes on, that was supposed to be temporary, and it was 49 years ago. We're supposed to be going back to gold sometime or another. It might be coming soon. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.